macroeconomics. So basically, I will first step. Let me to do a brief introduction about to macroeconomics. Yeah, basically, I will talk about what is kind of a difference between macro and macro. Yeah, but still, yeah, regardless you are doing which one you are doing, macro or macro, but you are doing macro economics, right? If you do economics, like the biggest problem, the biggest research question we want to do in the field of economics still is about this. It's about how we increase, how we maximize something called utility. Yeah, still is about this question, like how we increase utility. Yeah, but really the difference between micro and macro is about the different level, different research subject. Okay, I mean, in macroeconomics, mainly we learn about individual behavior. Yeah, individual behavior. Like in macroeconomics, we learn consumer behavior, producer behavior, and government behavior. You see, we learn about the three different economic agents. We basically we learn three different kind of people. In macroeconomics, there are not so much connections between three different kind of people. Like we learn them individually, okay, on an individual base. We ask this question. Okay, but in macroeconomics, what is macroeconomics? The research subject, like we learn a national economic system. We no longer learn individual behavior, but we just put them together to build a national, like a real national level economic system. So we are learning about a system. Okay, how we build this system? We just put everybody together. Okay, so this is a fundamental difference between micro and macro. So we learn different level of we learn different research subject, but still what we learn from macroeconomics is like how we increase utility again by doing something called consumption. Like this is the only way. This is the only way to increase happiness, to increase utility in the field of economics. Okay, this is the only way to increase utility and maximize happiness. Okay, so kind of in macroeconomics, if we ask this question again in the context of macroeconomics, okay, we kind of ask, okay, how we increase utility for everybody in Canada, for everybody, for all the economic agents, for everybody in this macroeconomic system. So that is as if we are asking how we encourage Canadians like spend more money, how we encourage, how we promote as a government, how we can encourage all Canadians to spend their money, do some consumption so to increase, to maximize their happiness. Okay, so let's think about this question. In what kind of situation using your microeconomics background? To think about this question, in what kind of situation, what kind of environment, okay, people are willing to, okay, spend their money, do some consumption activities in order to increase their utility or happiness. Okay, so maybe if you really think about this, okay, maybe the fundamental condition for more consumption activities is production. Right, production really is a condition kind of for more consumption productivities, right? We saw the production, we thought how we can do how people can consume something. So imagine you want to buy an apple in Vancouver. Yeah, really the fundamental conditions is the people, producers, in Vancouver, we can grow apple, we can produce apple, then people can consume apple. If we cannot produce, if we cannot grow any apples in Vancouver, how people can buy apples, right? So the first condition is called more production. Okay, then maybe people consume more things. Okay, so this is called the first policy goal of macroeconomics. In the field of macroeconomics as a government, the first thing we want to do here is to encourage more production activities. Okay, to increase the production level. Okay, the second thing, what we learned from macroeconomics is as a consumer, we care about price, right? We care about price. When you make a consumption decision, we need to think about the price. We need to consider the price. It's another very important factor. Okay, but in macroeconomics, we kind of don't care much more about the absolute price level of a product. So what do I mean by absolute level? So let's see bubble tea price. What is the kind of the bubble tea price in Vancouver? Let's see $10. Okay, so I write down $10 here. So 10, the number, the numerical value, the monetary value, $10 here. So but this number itself is called absolute value. Absolute price level of a bubble tea is called $10. Okay, but in macroeconomics, we kind of don't care about this $10. Why? Because what we mentioned, what I already said at the beginning of today's lecture is the fundamental difference between micro and macro is in macroeconomic system. We learn a lot of people, kind of a lot of customers. Okay, in this national economic system, we include a lot of different consumers. So why is they are different in terms of income level? So different people have different level of income. Some people can make a lot of money. Some people just basically kind of can make kind of a basic level income. So if you can make a lot of money, so people with a different kind of income, okay, has a different kind of feelings about this this price signal. If you can make a lot of money, you may think, oh, $10 of bubble tea is very cheap. I can buy a lot of as money as money as I want to consume. Yeah, because you can make a lot of money. Yeah, you can buy a lot of bubble tea if you wish, right? But by contrast, in another case, if your income kind of very low, you may think $10 is too expensive for a bubble tea. You see, people with a different income level has a kind of a different feelings about this price signal. Okay, so in macroeconomics, we kind of don't care much more about this $10 a year. But in macroeconomics, we kind of care more about so-called increasing rate. In later sections, the general price level, how fast the general price level is increasing is called inflation rate. But for this moment, because we didn't formally define what is inflation rate, so here I just put in so-called increasing rate. The so-called increasing rate. Regardless of income level, people don't like the price level increases so fast. Right, we have so many different ways to explain like people regardless your income level, okay? Once again, regardless, it can be very rich, it can be very poor, but regardless your income level, if people don't like the general price level increases so fast. And you got so many different ways to explain the reason. Right, if the general price level increases, the purchasing power of your income decreases, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so you have so many different ways to explain this. So the second policy goal of macroeconomics is we want to, as a government, we want to keep the general increase in rate, the price level increase in rate lower. The goal of a macro policy is to keep the inflation rate under 2% every year. Okay, if the general, once again, the general price level increases, the rate, I mean, in terms of the annually rate is about 2%. Okay, that can be considered as the inflation rate is too high. Because the policy goal is to keep the inflation rate under 2% every year. Okay, so number three, so basically we want to stabilize the price level. Okay, stabilize the price level. If the prices increases so fast, people don't want to spend their money. Instead of that, they want to save bigger proportion for their current income for the future consumption for their maybe retirement life. So number three, okay, the third thing we want to do here in macroeconomics, we want to create more employment opportunities. So what is the reason? Why as a government we need to care about whether or not people can find a job? We want to increase the employment rate. What is the reason? Okay, so third thing we want to care about, we need to care about is employment. So whether or not the people in Vancouver really can find a job. So super easy, the answer is super easy, right? Because the employment means if you can find a job, so that means at least you can make a basic level, at least basic level income. So you can make money. Right? If you cannot find a job, you cannot make any money. Super easy. So put them together. So this is called three basic policy goals of our macroeconomic policy. So as a government, let's repeat again, as a government, as a Canadian government, as a BC government, what you want to do in the field of economics is to do three things to promote these three policy goals. Number one, to encourage all the Canadian producers to produce more. Because the production is the fundamental, is the foundation of more consumption activities. Right? Without production, how come people can buy more things if you even cannot produce them for all Canadians? Number two, we want to stabilize the price level. Specifically, we want to keep the inflation rate under 2% every year. Okay, we want to stabilize the price because people don't like the general price level increases so fast. Okay, if the general price level increases so fast, yeah, people what do people want to do is they want to save a bigger proportion of their current income for the future. Maybe for their children, for their retirement life. Okay, so number three, you need to create like job opportunities, employment opportunities for every people here in Vancouver. So people can make at least some money for their consumption activities. Okay, so with these three conditions together, put them together, we can accept, we can expect that okay, people can do some kind of they are willing to spend their money, okay, to buy something, okay, to promote more consumption, ultimately to maximize the social welfare, to maximize the happiness for everybody. Okay, so as you can see, the title for our notes number one is called the measurement of economic performance. Yeah, basically the first notes number one is the first chapter. We basically learn three different statistical numbers. We use just these three numbers, three indicators to measure how well you do, how well your country did for these three policy goals. Okay, can you like in the past year, did you like promote more production? In the past year, did you really control the inflation rate very well? Okay, did you create enough job opportunities for all Canadians? Okay, so basically we use those three statistical numbers as a measurement for economic performance. Yeah, basically three macro indicators, economic indicators. The first indicator, the first measurement, the first number is called GDP. GDP, gross domestic product. Okay, so production level in macroeconomics measured by something called GDP. But first thing I want to clarify here is GDP. Okay, later you will see. Okay, later you will see. By the definition, GDP is a monetary variable. Monetary. So basically, it's about money. GDP is a monetary variable. So I mean the unit of GDP actually is a dollar sign. Okay, it's about money. It's about a monetary variable. Okay, but the production here, by the nature, right, is a quantity variable. You know what I mean? Quantity variable. Right, the production level, right, should be a quantity variable. Like here in Canada, we can produce 10 gallons of gasoline, 5 pencils, 10 erasers. Okay, all these numbers, all these production level measured by quantity, like 10 gallons of the gasoline. You see different kind of tangible goods measured by different kind of units, like 10 gallons, 5 kg. We use all different kinds of units to do the to quantify, to measure the quantity of different things we can produce here. So once again, production is a quantity. Okay, it's a quantity variable. But the difficulty, okay, if we want to measure the production level, the overall production level here in Canada, it is a kind of so difficult. What is the reason? Okay, because at the beginning of today's lecture, we mentioned that macroeconomics is about a system. It's about a national level system. Okay, it's about the real country, real society, real economic system. So in real life, think about that, right? It is hard, it is almost impossible to directly count how many units of different things we can produce here in Canada. It is impossible to do that. What is the reason? Because the real economic system is so big, it's so complicated. Why? Because we produce so many different things, right? Imagine every time you go to Costco, you go to Seafood, you go to Seafood Food. You can actually see in real life we produce so many different things. Apple, banana, yeah, donuts, yeah, pencils, erasers, the TV, smartphone, iPad, blah, 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 cars, automobiles, right? Nobody know how many actually, how many different kinds of a thing we produce, right? It is even harder to count the quantity of services we produce here in Canada. Okay, so that is a difficulty about macroeconomics. Like the national economic system is so big, it's so complicated. So we cannot, once again, we cannot directly count like 1, 2, 3, 4, directly count how many different things we can produce. Okay, so economists, we create something called GDP. So the idea is the definition of a GDP is we add up the dollar value. We add up the market price of everything we produce here in Canada together. Okay, to get something called GDP. Okay, by the formal definition of a GDP just is the market price of everything we produce here together. Add them up. Okay, to come up with something called a GDP. Okay, as a measurement for the production level. So higher level GDP means Okay, we produce a lot of those things here, maybe in past year. Higher level GDP means a higher level production ability for sure. Lower level GDP, if in your country the GDP just is a very small number, so that means oh, in your country the production ability capability is very low. Like your country only produce a few things. Okay, in a given time interval, time period. Okay, so this is a definition of GDP, and we just need to clarify three things. Okay, GDP once again is a measurement for production level. Production level does not necessarily equal to the final sale. So this is the two different things. These are two different things, so totally two different things. So let's have a two example here. So in real life, production can be greater than final sale. Okay, so imagine you are a business owner. Once again, you are running your own bubble tea store in Vancouver. So every day, your bubble tea store produces 10 units of a bubble tea. Okay, can you sell all 10 units of your bubble tea produced every day? Maybe yes, maybe no, right? Super easy. Maybe yes, maybe no. If you got a lot of customers today, okay, maybe you can sell 10 units of bubble tea. You can sold out 10 units of bubble tea, all the bubble tea you produce today. Yeah, could be possible. Okay, but maybe the real life, in most cases, is a production greater than final sale. You produce 10 units of bubble tea, but only 8 out of 10 units can be sold out today. Okay, so you got 2 units left. Okay, 2 units left in economics can be called the inventory. 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 You produce something, but unpurchased. Okay, but could not be sold out immediately. Okay, so you collect them as your inventory. So in this case, your inventory is increasing. So next day on the second day of your business, how many units? What is the maximum possible units you can sell? 12 units, right? 12 units. Because on the second business day, you still produce 10 of the property, but don't forget you got 2 units left from yesterday. So on the second day of a business, you could sell all the 12 units on hand. Okay, so in this case, total sale greater than total production. So in this case, inventory decreases. Okay, so what we learned from A and B here, hopefully you can understand. Super easy. Okay, production really does not necessarily equal to final sale. But always remember, we create the goal of GDP, the goal of creating so-called GDP. We want to have a measurement for production, but not for final sale. Okay, GDP is a measurement for production, but not for final sale. Okay, so this is a kind of a first restrictions for GDP. So number two, okay, GDP is a measurement only for final goods and services. Okay, but those intermediate things, those intermediate goods and services cannot be counted into GDP. Very important, okay? Only final goods and services can be counted into GDP, but it just excludes those intermediate resource. So what is the reason? So let's have an example here. So you go to Starbucks today, you bought a bottled coffee here, and the coffee price here is $5. Okay, so when you do this purchase, so you increase the Canadian GDP by $5. Because you purchase, you do some kind of a consumption. Yeah, so $5 must be counted as a part of the Canadian GDP. But don't forget, right? Don't forget, based on macroeconomics, as a Starbucks, they also need to pay money for purchasing intermediate goods, right? For purchasing those resources. For example, yeah, to produce this unit of coffee. Okay, let's see, maybe Starbucks paid $1 for coffee beans used for producing the coffee. But $1 here cannot be counted as part of GDP. What is the reason? Can somebody tell me what is the reason? Why $1 here cannot be counted in GDP? Like why like only $5 can be counted in GDP? Why is this $1 isn't part of a GDP? Because of $5 super easy. Okay, but because of $5 already include this $1, right? Because the producers, the Starbucks business, right? They cannot like the goal of a Starbucks is to make money, right? So $5. Why the price of this coffee is $5? How they pricing? How they price their coffee? They need to consider the cost, the money they paid for resources, right? So $5 already include the price, the value of a coffee beans, the cream, and the sugars they used for producing the coffee. Okay, so we no longer need to, okay, calculate, we no longer need to count the price of those resources we used. Okay, those businesses used, because of $5 already include $1. Okay, so what? So GDP once again, okay, only final goods and services can be counted into GDP. Intermediate things, okay, intermediate resources, intermediate goods, okay, cannot be counted again into GDP. Okay, the third restriction, okay, the third restriction. We actually don't care about who did the production. As long as the production activity occurred, okay, within Canada. Okay, we don't care about the interesting things. We don't care about who actually did the production. The producer can be foreign nationals. Okay, the producers can be Germany, can be Japanese, it can be Chinese, it can be Americans. But we don't care about who they are. Okay, as long as they produce something within Canada, within our nation's border. Okay, all the things are produced here, regardless of who actually did the production, must be counted part of the Canadian GDP. Okay, within the nation's border, kind of the third restriction for GDP. Okay, this is a definition. Okay, this is just as a definition of a GDP. And let's turn to next page. You got the table here. So two samples. Okay, you got the 2 years data. In the first year, let's imagine a very simple economy. Like imagine in Canada, we just can produce two different things, like a piece and a soda. Okay, every year we just produce two different things, piece and a soda. So in the first year, okay, 2012, okay, Canada produced 4 units of pizza, okay, 12 units of soda, and you got the price number, price data here. And by the definition, what is the definition of GDP? We just add up, okay, the price is the market value of everything we produce here together is called GDP. Okay, so you just do some simple calculations for pizza, $10 each for each unit, right? You add up everything together, you got the GDP is 64. So next year we produce, generally speaking, we produce a little bit more, 5 units of pizza, yeah, 15 units of soda. Price change a little bit, but still we just add them together. You got GDP is $70. Okay, so what we learned from this example is, yeah, GDP kind kind of is a reliable indicator to do the measurement. For measurement as a measurement for the production level, right? Because what we learned here, if we can produce more, right? For pizza, up to 5 units of pizza, 12 units of soda up to like has been increased to 15 units. So generally speaking, if we can produce more, the GDP also is increasing. That's fine. That's totally fine. That is what we want to do, right? We want to use a measure. We want to use a GDP as a measurement to reflect, to indicate how the production level has been changed in your country. So actually, we can see here, okay, if the production level is increasing, GDP is increasing. Yeah, so kind of, yeah, so that is a kind of what we want to do. Okay, so number two, okay, so generally speaking, okay, kind of almost all the countries in today's world, they do annually estimation. Okay, they release their annually data. Okay, so we estimate GDP once for every year. So we do annually estimation of the GDP. Okay, most countries they do annually estimation. In USA, sometimes they do something called quarterly estimation. Also, it can be called a flash estimation. Yeah, but still, most countries they release annually data. Yeah. But actually, you guys have heard about this. It's also called big data technology, right? With the development of AI, with the development of basically those internet thing, yeah, with a higher level technology. I think in most country in recent years, they try to check the GDP more frequently. Yeah. So actually, so number two here kind of is an old-fashioned thing. Yeah. Because in recent years, as I mentioned, right? So we have better technology, internet technology, big data. Yeah, whatever the term is, but you know what I mean. Like with a higher level, better technology, we actually can track the GDP change like more frequent. Yeah. So next, let's move on. Number C. Yeah, you need to know we have you got two different ways. Okay, two different approach to actually estimate, to actually calculate GDP. So two different approaches. The first one is called the expenditure approach, and another way is called the income approach. Okay, so you got two different ways to actually calculate how big is the GDP in your country. But could be very confusing, right? Some of you maybe feel very confused about this because we already mentioned how to calculate GDP. Like in this table, like we already calculate, oh, Canadian GDP is $64. Canadian GDP in next year was $70. Seems like we can use this table to calculate GDP. Well, we need to learn some other ways, other approach to calculate GDP. What is the reason? Once again, because this table isn't a real life, right? Right, this table isn't the real case. What is the reason? Because we mentioned in real life, it produces so many different things. Okay, in real life, we don't only produce the 4 piece set of sodas. Okay, this economy is too simple. Okay, so this one just a kind of illustration, like example, to tell you guys, to teach you guys how we calculate GDP. Because in real life, we cannot list everything we produce here in Canada to calculate GDP just like this table. Okay, so in real life, we must come up with some other ways or some different ways for calculating GDP. For calculating GDP. So the first thing, okay, so the first one is called the expenditure approach. So the general idea of expenditure approach is just is that if we add up everybody's expenditure, okay, if we add up the money spent by different people together, so could be a good estimation for Canadian GDP. So my question is why? My question is actually so why is this the case? Because we mentioned about the initially the definition of GDP is that this is the price of everything, dollar value of everything we produce here in Canada, right? Add them together as a GDP. But here I also see, okay, if we add up, we sum up, okay, the expenditure, the money spent by different people together also is a GDP. Like, what is the reason? Seems like quite different. Why we can, by adding up everybody's expenditure together to get GDP, to estimate GDP, what is the reason? No response. Cause the price is the money. This is the money consumer paid, right? Because of the price. What is the price? Your price is the money as a consumer you need to pay for purchasing that thing, purchasing whatever the goods and services, whatever you want. Okay, so the dollar value here, so the dollar value market price exactly is the money all the consumers need to pay for purchasing those things we produce here in Canada. That is the reason. Okay, that is the reason. If we add up everybody's expenditure, money spent together is a good estimation for GDP. Okay, so this is a kind of the central idea, the basic idea of the expenditure approach. Okay, that is a reason, that is a logic. Okay, we followed here. We add up everybody's expenditure together. So next step, we just need to consider what kind of people who actually spend their money for purchasing things, goods and services we produce in this country. The first sector is called household. Okay, household sector. Okay, like ordinary, like a Canadian people, families, just like you and me, we buy things produced here in this country. Like every week, every month, we go to Costco, right? You and your family members every week maybe you guys will go to Costco buy a lot of groceries. Okay, so at least a part of those groceries you purchase every week, every day is produced by Canadian producers. Okay, so that is a part of a Canadian GDP. Number B, okay, business sectors, firms, business, companies, okay, they buy so-called physical asset. They buy a lot of physical asset. Like they buy land, like they build, they buy some kind of a buildings for your business. Okay, business they buy a lot of physical, those tools, equipment, and machineries. Just like a Starbucks, they at least need to buy a lot of coffee makers to do their coffee business. So all the money is spent on these physical things. equipment, machineries, tools. Okay, it's a part of the GDP. Okay, it's a part of the GDP. So this part is called the investment. Okay, so investment is the second component of a GDP. All level of government. Okay, like the Canadian federal government, Vancouver City, BC government, yeah, all different three levels of government. They also spend a lot of money for purchasing different things they need, right? So at least they need to buy some kind of maybe at least some office supplements for their operation. Like U.S. government, they buy a lot of weapons for U.S. Army. Yeah, this is a part of examples of a government expenditure, and is a part of a GDP. Okay, not only domestic people buy things produced by Canada. Foreigners, yeah, foreigners also buy things produced in Canada. Like people in Alberta, they export a lot of things like crude oil, natural gas to USA every day. Yeah. So that is called the net exporting. But pay attention to here. What do I mean by net exporting? So we need to do kind of some calculations here. Net exporting equals to exporting minus importing. Okay, exporting minus importing. Exporting minus importing. Because the situation can be kind of opposite, right? So Canadians, foreigners spend their money for purchasing goods and services produced in Canada. Same thing, right? Same thing. Canadians also can spend their money for purchasing something made in China. Okay, so you can understand imported goods and services cannot be counted as into Canadian GDP. Because of the third like condition restrictions we added on here is only those things produced within our nation's border can be counted as a Canadian GDP. But the things made in China cannot be counted as a Canadian GDP. Okay, so we need to do a minus here, minus the importing value. So the net exporting equals to exporting value, total exporting in terms of monetary value minus the importing value. So that is called the net exporting. So there is yeah, here, net exporting. Okay, so super important, okay, to kind of memorize, understand this formula. So how you can use expenditure to calculate real GDP? You just have add up this four different things together. Four things together. C, I, G, X, put them together, add them as a map. Add them up, okay, is called GDP. So this is the expenditure approach. So another way is called the income approach. Uh, it's called the income approach. We don't have a formula. Okay, we don't have a specific formula for this approach. Okay, you just need to understand kind of the idea of income approach is totally enough for taking AP examination. So then what is income approach? We add up everybody's income together. Okay, we add up all those money made by different people, made by all Canadians together, is Canadian GDP. Not exactly equal to, but pretty close to GDP. So let's have an example here, okay, to illustrate what is the reason to use income approach. So imagine I am a producer. Okay, so I'm producing. So my business, my company, my factory is producing maybe toaster. And the price of my toaster is $20. So by selling every unit of a toaster, I can make $20. Easy, right? Just a toaster, $20. Okay, but based on your microeconomics, you have understand that you need to pay cost, right? You need to pay cost. You need to pay. You need to transfer part of this $20 to those people who contributed production factors for your production process. Let's say you need to pay $6 for human resources for workers. Okay, and you pay $3 for what? For maybe raw materials. Okay, so the people who contributed raw materials to business, to your business, to your factory can get $3. Because you rent a building, okay, so you pay $1 to the landlord. Okay, the remaining $10 is the profit earned by shareholder, like the business owner of this company. You see, for everything, for every kind of goods and services we trade, we exchange in the real economy. Okay, we can break down the price of everything we traded in this economy into different numbers. And all these numbers actually are incomes earned by different people who involved in this production process. If you contributed something, okay, to produce, in order to produce a toaster, you can get a part of the price, the number here as your personal income. And if we add up everybody's income together, okay, the total income must be equal to exactly, precisely must be equal to $20. So you can understand what is the logic here, we followed here. So you can understand if we add up everybody's income together, so must be equal to Canadian GDP. Okay, so yeah, so that is the second way. Okay, so it's a second way for estimating, for calculating GDP is a car income approach. Okay, so once again, we don't have a formula here, but you just need to understand what is kind of the idea we followed here. So number C for sure. So if regardless, kind of two different ways, it can lead to same calculating result. Yeah, regardless of which approach you used. Okay, you should get the same GDP calculating result. Number 4 is another very important part about GDP. So when you compare two different years data, okay, when you compare GDP data comes from two different years or more years, sometimes you need to do something called a price adjustment. So let me show you a example. Okay, to illustrate, to show the importance, to tell you guys the importance to do what? To do price adjustment. Imagine you got 2 years, okay, maybe 2023 is last year. So this year is 2024. Once again, let's imagine Canadian economics is super simple. Okay, because in Canada we only produce, just imagine we only produce a bubble tea. The only product Canadians can produce is called bubble tea. Last year, Canadians produced 10 units of bubble tea. And let's see this year, okay, due to whatever the reason, maybe we got better technology. Okay, maybe we discovered more resources. Due to whatever the reason, we can produce more. We can double our production level up to 20 units. So based on the quantity data here, the result, the conclusion we can make here based on the quantity data is the Canadian economy has been increased by 100%. We are doubling our our economic size. Because the 10 to 20 is super easy. Okay, but the price, but you get we have covered a lot of things about pricing macroeconomic. And one thing you learn is that price is not fixed. Price always kind of is fluctuating every day. Price is not a fixed number. And sometimes, okay, sometimes those fluctuations in price level could be quite a lot. So let's have a example here. Okay, the price of a bubble tea in 2023, let's see, was $10. So how you calculate GDP for the first year? So GDP super easy for that year, 10 times 10. So that means $100. But I mentioned that $10 not is always a fluctuation. It's always a fluctuating. So the price of a bubble tea this year, let's see, could be $4. It's a very extreme cases, but it could be happening in real life, maybe due to COVID-19. Yeah, maybe due to whatever the reason. Maybe due to some natural disasters, whatever the reason. So anything could be happening in real life. So the consequences is that the price has been lowered down to only $4. So if you calculating GDP in later year, so the GDP only is 80. So based on the GDP data you see, you could get a very confusing conclusion. Like now you get the information, the picture you get is the GDP, is the Canadian economy is decreasing. Canadian overall economy is getting worse based on GDP data. But you know this isn't the case. Okay, based on the quantity data we know, like the real thing, the real conclusion, the correct conclusion, the real thing is we are doubling our economic size. So 80 here, the GDP here is pointless, is meaningless. Okay, 80 here really is not a precise estimation measurement for your current production level. The reason, the fundamental reason is that the price actually is a troublemaker here. The price, the fluctuation, okay, in this country is too big. Okay, so how we fix this problem? We want to do something called a price adjustment. So in this case, when the price fluctuations are too big, so we choose the first year here as something called base year. Okay, so this one is called base year. Okay, we choose the price level. Why is this here is called base year? Why is it called base? We choose the price level in the first year kind of as a benchmark. Okay, I mean, we make the price level, bubble tea price in first year fixed to calculating so-called real GDP, to calculate so-called real GDP in later year. So you use the current production level, multiply the base year price level to calculating the real GDP in second year. So the result you could get is $200. $200. This is called real GDP. 80 here only can be called as a nominal GDP. Once again, when the price level has been changed really a lot, the nominal GDP could be pointless, could be meaningful less. It's not a right precise estimation of your GDP. But $200 here, the problem has been fixed, right? So you can get a coincidence, correct conclusion is that we are doubling our GDP size. Okay, so this one basically is wrong. And then now you can get a like an incidence, a coincidence, like the same the conclusion. Yeah, based on the quantity data and based on the real GDP data. So the overall process here is called the price adjustment. And once again, before, if you didn't do any price adjustment, if you just use the current year price level to calculate GDP, the result you got is called the nominal GDP. If you use the base year price level to calculate GDP, the result you got is called real GDP. Okay. That's it. Okay, basically these are two most important part of a GDP. Okay, the first one, let's repeat again. The first part you need to know how we actually calculate GDP, and the number four, you know what is the reason, the importance to do price adjustment. Later part is number five. Number five is called the GDP per capita. So GDP per capita is super easy. You just use the total GDP size divided by the population. You divide by how many people you have in your country. Okay, so use the total GDP size, total GDP value divided by the population size. You got something called the GDP per capita. GDP per capita is the criteria. It's the standard, kind of a standard benchmark we use to distinguish between developing country, developed country. Okay, so if a country said to be a so-called developed country, okay, the GDP per capita, like the benchmark, is $40,000. I mean USD dollars in terms of USD. For every year. So how you understand this number? Okay, so that means, okay, averagely speaking, if you live in a developed country, you had two different ways, right? You had two different ways to understand this number. The first way, okay, from the income approach perspective, okay, if you are a kind of average worker, typical worker, working in USA, UK, Germany, Canada, these developed countries. Averagely speaking, you can make this much every year. Okay, so this is an income approach. So another way is for if you're living in a developed country, every year you can spend this much of money for purchasing those things you need. Okay, this is called developed country. So what about developing countries? Like China still is a developing country. Oh, what is the reason? Because of the GDP per capita in China, in terms of the national average, kind of close to $10,000 USD, still for every year. Okay, a typical worker in China, averagely speaking, I mean the national average, okay, only can make $10,000 USD for every year. You see, still there is a big gap, a big difference, between China and Canada and the USA. So China still is a developing country. So higher GDP level, higher GDP per capita level means a higher level, so-called higher average standing, a higher average standard of living. Okay, the living standard is higher with a higher level GDP. Because it's super easy. Yeah, naturally you can understand, right? If you can spend $40,000 every year, For sure it's better than the situation in which you only can spend like $10,000 every year. Right, you can enjoy like more things, yeah, more like services, yeah, goods and services, whatever you want to purchase, whatever you need. Yeah, spending more money for sure is better than less money. Okay, so next part, number 7. Okay, number 7, some little things. Yeah, multiple choice will test you about this. So some kind of things that cannot be counted in GDP. The first category of things cannot be counted in GDP is called the underground economy. Okay, so two different things. The first one is those illegal items. Okay, like the price of those illegal drugs cannot be counted in GDP for sure. Yeah, because they are just illegal. Right? Producers shouldn't produce those illegal things. So cannot be counted into GDP. Another part is called household consumption. Household consumption. Sometimes if you produce some kind of goods or services for what? For your family members. For example, if you do the dishes for your mom, you do the dishes for your mom, but your mom didn't pay you any money. Because there is no market system within your family. Yeah, you just cut it for free. You just do this for nothing as a return. So this kind of household consumption cannot be counted into GDP. Okay, because there is no a market system within your family. Okay, number B, second-hand sales. Second-hand sales is super easy. If you buy a second-hand car, you buy a car today, but the car just is a second-hand car, like produced 10 years ago. So for sure, the price of this second-hand car cannot be counted into this year's GDP. Okay, because of the car, because this car, this is second-hand car, already was a part of the GDP like 10 years ago. Okay, so second-hand car cannot be counted as a part of the GDP this year's GDP. Number C, purely financial transactions. Financial transactions means, okay, you are purchasing some kind of financial assets like a stocks and a bond. Two common type of financial asset in the field of economics and field of finance is called a stock and a bond. In later chapters, we will learn great deal of a bond. Okay, bond market. What is a bond market? What is bond? And for sure now you guys know what is a stock. All right. You buy, so why you buy stock? Why you buy stock? If you buy stock issued by Apple company, you can be the shareholder of Apple company. Right, you can vote. Okay, you have a right to get the dividend. Dividend just means the interest, like a part of the net profit of Apple company. Depends on how many shares of the stock you purchase, you hold. You can get a part of the dividend, the profit earned by Apple company. You see, you are kind of, if you buy stock, you are kind of purchasing some kind of a right. Okay, the right to vote, the right to get the dividend paid out by that company. So financial transactions, that means financial transactions does not mean you are purchasing some tangible things, goods or services produced in Canada. So financial transactions, okay, cannot be counted as a part of GDP. Number B, we already mentioned about this part. Okay, resources, those intermediate goods isn't part of the GDP. Okay, because the price of a final goods already include the price, the market value of resources is used. Okay, so intermediate sales, okay, intermediate sales cannot be counted as a part of GDP. Okay, one final thing is another term is called the GNP. The GNP GDP is they are kind of the same thing. Okay, just a one difference. Okay, just a one major difference between GDP and the GNP is okay. When we learn the definition of a GDP, we mentioned we don't care about who actually did the production. The producer actually could be foreigners. Okay, regardless who you are. Okay, you can be regardless your nationality, you can be Chinese, German, blah blah blah, American. As long as you produce something here in Canada, the goods and the value of the things you produce here in Canada is a part of the Canadian GDP. But the GNP kind of is the opposite. Okay, now here when we calculating GDP, we only count those goods and services produced by Canadians. If you are calculating GNP for Canada. Okay, we only count the values, those things produced by Canada, by Canadian nationals, by Canadian registered business company corporations. But we don't care where actually they did the production. A Canadian company, let's say Lululemon. Lululemon like is a Vancouver company, right? Maybe they have a if they produce something in USA, okay, the value of those things they produce in USA actually should be counted back into Canadian GNP. Okay, because we want to count, yeah, what is the economic value produced by Canadians, but we don't care. By this time, we don't care here where they did the production. Okay, this is everything. Okay, this is everything about GDP. Uh, let's do a practical question, I guess, to check your kind of a basic understanding of GDP. The first question we could do. Okay, so 237. Okay, so 237 questions, right? It's super easy. Just give it guys like 5 minutes. If you do this one. So let's check the answer for the, because we are calculating the GDP for who, for USA, and for this year. Because the answer, the value of used textbooks, really the key word is used. Okay, so keyword, so used here indicating that, oh, that was a second-hand sale. So we just learned the second-hand sale isn't part of the current year's GDP. Okay, so the first one cannot be counted into this year's GDP. Number B should be yes. Why? Because of the rent. Remember this rent, if you rent a building. Okay, just like when you go to Disneyland, you live in the hotel for one night. Because the rent you paid is the kind of, you are purchasing the accommodation services. You are purchasing kind of accommodation services. So the money you paid for services is a part of a GDP. Okay, so third one, the commission. So what is a commission? Commission is a service fee you paid for a stockbroker to help you to filling the order. So, because as an individual investor, when you buy stocks in real life, you need to find a kind of an online platform. In old days, you need to find a stockbroker. You need to find a person to help you to buy the stocks. But in nowadays, usually we use the online platform. You just open account in RBC to use their online platform to trade stock, to trade a bond, to buy any kinds of financial investment. But every time when you buy, when you trade a stock or bond, you need to pay commission, like the service fee for you to use the online platform to buy, to trade the stocks. So commission kind of the service. We are purchasing some kind of services. So this one actually is right. You should be counted to GDP. But don't forget, the money you paid by for purchasing stock cannot be counted to GDP. Okay, but the commission you paid to hire someone, stockbroker, to help you to buy stock is a part of a GDP. Okay, the last one causes the automobile totally produced in South Korea. So it's not part of the USA's GDP. So last one is all. Okay. So go back to the notes. The second part, the second thing, the second measurements when you learn is called the inflation rate. So inflation rate, let's first step, let's define what actually is called the inflation. So inflation refers to a phenomena, refers to a situation in which the general price level continuously increase. So I mentioned two key things. Okay, the first one is called the general price level. What do I mean by general? General is that kind of refers to everything. Okay, the average is the general prices of everything we trade here in Canada is called the general price level. It's not about a single particular product. Okay, but it's about the price level of everything, the average price level. The second keyword I mentioned is the general price level must be like a continuously increasing over a time period of time, or over a time period. It's not about a short run fluctuation, it's about the long run increases in terms of the general price level. Okay, so this is how we formally define what is inflation. The inflation rate, okay, put these two words together. Inflation rate is the rate at which general price level is rising. Okay, we could calculate inflation for every month for every year. Okay, so next step, how we calculate, how we estimate the inflation rate. Actually, it's so hard. Okay, actually, it's so hard. It's kind of impossible to calculate because we mentioned, right? We are learning macroeconomics. Macroeconomics is so big. Is about a big economic system. This is so complicated. Why so complicated? Okay, because in this national system, we produce a lot of things. So it is almost impossible to check the price change of everything. Even government, okay, they have no means to check the price change of everything. Once again, imagine you go to Costco, go to Simon Food, go to Safeway. Wow, we produce a lot of things. Different brands, different color, different like a package, blah blah blah. So many different things, so complicated. So we cannot check the price change of everything. So how we measure? So then how we measure the general price level? Okay, so the idea actually is super easy. If we cannot check the price change of everything, we just narrow down the scope of the goods and services which we should count. We just do some selection. Okay, we just select something called typical goods and services to reflect the general price level change. Okay, we just choose a group of goods and services typically purchased by a middle class Canadian family. Once again, if we cannot check the price change everything, we just do some selection. So we just choose a few things to check the price. Okay, and use the price levels is of those goods and services that we selected to measure. Okay, to represent the general price level of all the things traded in Canadian market. So the next question is what kind of thing could be selected? Okay, what kind of thing we should kind of care about more in terms of their price level? So actually we have mentioned, so we create so-called market basket. And the market basket is the list, okay, it's those things, it's a list of consumer goods, okay, commonly purchased by a middle class, middle income level Canadian family. So that is our idea. We don't care about, we don't need to consider what has those richest people in Vancouver, what kind of thing they usually purchase. Okay, we only care about the middle level, the middle income level family. What kind of things they need to purchase for their daily life to maintain a basic living standard. Okay, so we select those things, okay, into something called into something called the market basket. Okay, so now the problem has been fixed, right? If we cannot check the price change in everything, we actually don't need to do that. Okay, we just check the price change of those once again, daily purchased, commonly purchased by a Canadian middle class family, to reflect the general price level. So let's have an example here. Okay, we have a 3 time periods. Okay, we just built a super easy, super simple market basket in which we just assume a middle income level family for every month to maintain a very basic living standard. Every month they need to buy 5 cheese and 8 crackers. Okay, every month for every time period is the same thing. 5 units of cheese, 8 units of a cracker. Okay, 5 units of cheese, 8 units of cracker is called the market basket. Once again, market basket just is a fixed combination, consumption bundle. Okay, purchased by a typical Canadian family. So we just track the price change of these 2 things to make your life easier. Once again, don't need to count. You do need to check the price change of everything. Okay, so you every month you calculate, okay, what is the total cost for purchasing this very standard fixed so-called market basket. Yeah, basically it's a 5 cheese and 8 crackers. You see, so easy, right? So easy in the first month to purchase this standard market basket to pay $20. Second month to produce the same thing, same item, same quantity to pay 23, 25 because of the price you see. The price tag here, the price has been increased. The third month, the price of these 2 things has been increased even more. So in the third month, you need to pay 24.55 for still is a fixed market basket for same thing. Okay, but we don't want to use this raw data. I just call these 3 numbers as raw data, like $20, $23, $24. I just call these 3 things as raw data. I don't want to use this raw data to calculate inflation rate, to calculate the general price change. Instead of this, okay, economists, first step, we want to do something called indexing of this raw data, for this raw data indexing. Okay, so for doing something called indexing, later you can understand what is importance. Okay, why we do indexing. But for this moment, let's follow the step. The indexing means you want to calculate so-called something called CPI. CPI is called consumer price index. Consumer price index, consumer price index. Okay, once again, we just do indexing for this 3 raw data here. So the formula, we just follow this formula. We just use the total cost this period divided by the total cost in base period. We just imagine, we just assume the period 1 is our base period. So the first period is the base period. So to just plug in the number into this formula. So you do 20 divided by 20 times 100. So you got index CPI, so which is 100. We just use the 100 here, representing the overall price level in base period in the first period, kind of is 100. Because kind of you are rating the price level from 10 to 100. Okay, so now the general price level represented by 100. Okay, 100 is the price level in base period. You do the indexing, you calculate CPIs, you just do something for the period 2. You follow the formula, you got the index called 116.25. 116.25. Now you can understand, okay, what is importance to do indexing, because now you can easily compare, oh, compared with the first period, in the second period, the general price level has been increased by 16.25%. So it is way more easier to calculate the inflation rate compared with the raw data. Okay, if you compare two $20, if you compare just $20 or $23, we kind of cannot get like a lot of information. But if you compare 100 and 116.85, you see once again, you can easily compare, you can easily see, you can easily calculate, oh, the general price level has been increased by this much. Okay, let's do one more example. Once again, the market basket cake must be fixed. Okay, you still buy 5 cheese-seed crackers, so these cannot be changed. Market basket cake kind of is a fix. Okay, you cannot frequently, at least frequently change what items we should buy and the units of each and every kind of things we want to buy. So the price has been increased once again. The price is increasing month by month. Okay, so you calculate the total cost is 24.55 divided by 20. You do the indexing again. You get the index CPI called 122.75. Okay, even without any further calculation, you can easily see the general price level has been increased by compared with the base period, right? You can easily see the inflation rate here between the first month and the third month is 22.75%. This is the importance to do the indexing. No, I was indexing. So here is not is the X. Indexing. Okay. Okay, so let's turn to the next page. So number B, this is basically we just repeat the formula here. So CPI is the first price index. You just follow this every time. You just follow this formula to do the indexing. And the CPI in base period must be 100. Okay, 100 kind of is the reference point. This is the benchmark, right? Every time we just compare the indexing at 100, so you can easily calculate the inflation rate, just like what we did in these two examples. Most countries in today's world, they do monthly estimation. Monthly estimation. The regular, for example, in Canada, Canadian government, if you go to Bank of Canada, their Bank of Canada is the central bank of Canada. Yeah, in later chapters, we will learn like who is. Yeah, if you go to their web page in the frontal page, I guess you can easily find the data. So the regular release, you see, this is a monthly time series data. Every month they release the inflation data. Every month. It should be every month. Yeah, you see monthly based data like August, September, October, November, December. Okay, so it's the monthly data. We do monthly estimation. Okay, but currently you can see the after this after COVID-19, after the great pandemic area, the Canadian inflation rate, okay, in what? Couple months ago, the inflation was quite very high, 8%. Recall that the goal of a macro policy is to keep the inflation rate under 2%. But after the COVID-19, the inflation rate is very high. But in recent like 2 months is we controlled we controlled a little bit. We decreases inflation a little bit. Like now is roughly is 3%. The total CPI is 3%. A bit closer is being closer to our the policy goal 2%. But in later chapters, in later fiscal policy, in later monetary policy, in later chapters, basically we will cover like what is the reason, what is the fundamental reason, like why the inflation rate after this COVID-19, was very high here. We will learn about the real life reasons, but in later chapter. Yeah, one more thing, number E here. Okay, so CPI is a series, because the series is not perfect. So one major drawback of the CPI series is the CPI actually is overestimated number. Okay, CPI by this definition, by this whole thing we learned here, could be overestimate the inflation rate. So what is the reason? Actually, we mentioned, okay, once we did a decision here, kind of, once I did it, once we make the decision regarding what kind of thing could be selected into this market basket, once we done the selection, we couldn't frequently change like those items we include in market basket. Right, naturally you can understand this, right? We cannot in the first period we check the apple price. In the second month, we check instead of the apple, we check the price change of the strawberry. Apple and the strawberry, they are different things, right? They are totally two different products. So it is pointless to compare apple price and the strawberry price, right? You need to fix the item. So over a long period of time, you check the price change of the same item, so you can get meaningful time series data to reflect how the price level has been changed. You couldn't just compare apple price and the strawberry price, and the next time you check the price, maybe donuts. Apple, strawberry, donuts, they are totally different things. Right, so it is meaningful less to compare the price of different things. Right, it is no point to do that. Okay, but you to fix the item you select. And over a very long time period, you just check the price change of the same thing. Okay, so you can get meaningful time series like the price level data. Okay, but over a long period, okay, the quality of those things has been increased quite a lot. So consider this quality improvement. It is reasonable to see the price of those items, those goods and services as being increased a little bit. So as a consumers, we pay a little bit more money. It is reasonable to pay a little bit more money for those higher quality goods, services. But here in this table, as economists, right, we cannot measure how big is the quality improvement. Because we are not learning physics here, we are not learning chemistry here. So as economists, we couldn't measure how big actually is the quality improvement. So we just ignore the quality improvement. Yeah, sadly, we just ignore the quality improvement. We just assume like the cheese, like the crackers produced today, actually is the same thing compared with the cheese and the crackers produced 30 years ago. It is a very ridiculous, right? Because over this 30 years time period, the technology used for producing cheese and crackers. The quality of cheese and crackers has been increased really by a lot. But we just couldn't measure how big is the quality improvement. So we just ignore this part. So this is a major drawback of a CPI. Okay, so consider the quality improvement. Hopefully you can understand. CPI is an overestimated number. Okay, one more thing. Okay, one more thing. Actually, we have a second thing. We have a second indicator, second measurement for measuring the inflation rate. Okay, the second price index is called GDP deflator. So this one easier. You just follow this. We do not need to learn another kind of a big table. But for GDP deflator, you just use the nominal GDP divided by. So this little bar here actually means a division. You just do a division. You use a nominal GDP divided by real GDP times 100. Okay, the result you got actually is called GDP deflator. So what we could do here, we could extend this formula a little bit. So now you got the definition. Now you can know the formula how you can calculate nominal GDP, right? Nominal GDP. So could be equal to, okay, like the current price level. Okay, like the current price level times the current production level. So Q current, I just label the current production level by Q current divided by, so how you calculate real GDP again? Divided by the base year price. Okay, so this one is called the base year price. Okay, times the base year quantity, sorry, current quantity, still the current quantity, times 100. So I mean this formula here, if we just say, kind of extend this formula, yeah, you see you can cross out these two items because this is the same thing, right? Current quantity and the current quantity is just cross out them. So you can calculate GDP deflation actually is a ratio. Like actually is a ratio of the current price level divided by base year price level. So you can easily understand, okay, GDP deflator, oh, could be used as an indicator for price change, right? So if you get a price GDP deflator like a greater than 100, okay, that means that the inflation rate is increasing. That means that the general price level has been increased. And the same thing compared with the GDP deflator, one common thing, one the same feature is in base period GDP deflator also is 100. And the difference between CPI and the GDP deflator, the purpose, the goal of the CPI and the GDP deflator is the same. Once again, is for measuring how big is the inflation rate, how high is the inflation rate. But one major difference is GDP deflator does not count, doesn't count those price change of imported goods and services. This is a little bit difference between CPI and the GDP deflator. So what is the reason? What is the reason? Because when we calculate GDP, let's repeat again, let's review again how we actually calculate GDP. So GDP, basically four components, add them together. Consumption, investment, government spending, and the most important thing is net tax supporting. Net tax supporting, you see, net tax supporting, so GDP does not include the price of imported goods and services. Because for calculating GDP, we already minus like the importing value. So the GDP deflator, by the definition, okay, it's not about, it's not include the price of imported goods and services. That is the reason. That is why we have these differences here. Okay. One final thing is the cost of inflation. This is the cost of inflation. Uh, Generally speaking, the inflation kind of is a bad thing, right? Generally speaking, the inflation kind of is a bad thing. So people's every society, different people, okay, actually, uh, uh, could it be suffer, right? How we can see, could it be suffer from inflation? So the last part we will talk about this. Yeah, why our society can be suffered from inflation? Why the inflation, generally speaking, is a bad thing? The first reason could be very easy because if the inflation happens, the pricing power, or the purchasing power of your previous savings will decrease. Imagine you deposit if you saved $1 million into your bank account for the future retirement, right? You just keep $1 million. Okay, but if the price level increases so fast, what will happen? So the quantity of real things, so the quantity of goods and services you could buy using this $1 million will decreasing. That is the reason, right? That is the reason we see all inflation is a bad thing. Where is my notes? Okay, so this is the first reason, okay, why people could suffer from inflation. Number B here, so number B is called manual cost. Manual cost refers to a situation in which, okay, our society, our whole society and the people, we actually need to pay extra. We need to pay some extra cost to deal with the fluctuated price signal. Let's repeat again, okay? If the price signal due to inflation, the price signal is not very stable, because the inflation means the general price level increases, fluctuates, maybe increases very frequently. So to deal with the price signal, our whole society need to pay extra resources to deal with non-stable price signals. So the story says, so imagine you are running your own like a bubble tea store. You are running your fast food restaurant due to high inflation. So every day you need to spend extra time to update your menu price. Because the hamburger you produce, the hamburger price last day was at $10 due to high inflation. The second is this day, the price should be $20. You see? You need to spend extra time resources to update to print out the new copy of your menu. That means you are wasting your valuable resources to deal with non-stable price signals. So these extra resources you paid for dealing with non-stable price signal in the field of economics can be called as a manual cost. But by contrast, imagine the prices are very stable, very stable. You don't need to spend that much time to update your manual. So this is the kind of manual cost. Okay, the last one final thing. So how the inflation rate could affect the financial market. So let's so super easy. Okay, lenders can be harmed from inflation, borrowers can be benefited from inflation. Okay, so let's have a story here, example here. So last year I borrowed $100 from you. Last year I borrowed $100 from you. But the general price level last year was very low. Okay, like the bubble tea price was $10. So that means I borrowed, recall that I borrowed $100 from you. That means I borrowed 10 as a bubble tea kind of from you last year. This year I still pay back $100 back to you, but currently the general price level has been increased by so much, by quite a lot. Okay, so let's imagine the bubble tea price has been increased to $20 per unit. So that means if I still pay back $100, that means I only return like 5 units of bubble tea. You see, I'm taking advantage because last year I borrowed 10 units of bubble tea. This year just return 5 units of bubble tea. So I am the borrower. I'm taking advantage from you as a lender. So you can understand, okay, lenders can be harmed from inflation, borrowers can be both, can be what? Can be benefited from inflation. Okay, but usually in the financial market, those are commercial banks, right? Those are commercial banks like TD, RBC, CIBC, BMO, Scotiabank. Okay, they are the lenders, right? They are biggest lenders in the financial market. So they are not stupid, right? So they are not stupid. All those big banks, they can make a lot of money. So the question is how they overcome the negative effects of inflation. They build up a equation here called the Fisher's hypothesis. Okay, so the nominal interest rate, the loan holder need to repay actually equals to something called the real interest rate. Real interest rate actually is the real interest rate actually is the actual interest rate loan holder need to repay. It is a nominal interest rate. No, real interest rate is the business profit rate. It is a profit all those big banks can really make, let's say 5%. If you are BC, if you really want the profit rate, why you do loan business? Because you want to make money. Okay, if you want to keep your profit equals to 5%, you need to estimate what is the inflation rate in Canada in the future, in the near future at least. Imagine you are estimating the inflation rate equal to 3%, so 5% plus 8%. So as the RBC, you need to ask the loan holder to repay 8% has something called a nominal interest rate. So 8% minus 3%, that means really, finally, you can keep 5% as your profit. So as RBC, this is how you do your loan business. Okay, you need to consider the interest rate and do an estimation. Okay, you need to do an estimation, what is the inflation rate in the near future in Canada. So you can calculate, okay, what is the nominal interest rate the loan holder they need to repay. So I guess we just stop here this week. Next week we finish up what is how we calculate unemployment rate. Okay, maybe we could do couple more practice practical question regarding how we calculate inflation rate, I guess. So maybe yeah, we have a couple more questions regarding how we calculate inflation. Yeah, for example, we could do here 2011. Okay, so the homework is like here 2011 from B questions, right? So just is about how you calculating how you calculate it's about how you calculate the inflation rate. This is